There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of Dollar Tree hack videos creating unique treasures without breaking the bank. And I love it. Most of these videos include a lot of hot glue, but where are my woodworking brethren and sisterithins? And a sub to the channel would be hot. During my browse session, I came across these plastic puzzle piece picture frames. Say that 5 times fast. This plus a piece of wood can act as a template for mass production. It mainly caught my eye because I wondered if these two pieces would actually lock together, and they fit like a dream. And it also will include all of the hardware needed to finish up our project. It's got the plastic covery piece, it's got the back, which also includes the little hangers and the little flippy fin parts. Yeah, who knows what any of this is called. To start, I'm going to remove these 4 screws, which pretty much guts all of the hardware from these very simple picture frames. So today we are going to be building a few different shapes for these. They're not all going to be this exact shape because you can marry them up to have the corners matched up. I could make, have it 3 of these peaky parts or 3 of the holes, or you can make it so it's just a square corner piece or a straight edge. We're going to play around with them just a little bit, and it's honestly just lining up the corners or drawing a straight edge. It's nothing over the top. We will be kind of playing with those, and then also building an easy, intermediate, and a head scratcher puzzle piece. So the easy ones, I'm going to use this piece of whatever it is, wood. I'm going to use this. It's got a live edge on it. There's literally moss growing on the live edge. I don't know if that was intentional. Maybe it's for like a fairy setup. I don't know. So we're going to use that board up. It was like $1 on clearance. And then, just to blast them, I bought one of these Mastercraft boards, and it's literally split almost halfway down. So I'm going to try to salvage maybe at least 2 off of the end that hasn't blown apart yet. So those are going to be kind of just easy. It's one board. There's no glue up. I glued up a few pieces of oak and walnut together yesterday so that the glue had overnight to dry, and I like the contrasting colors of the oak to walnut, so that is going to be 1, hopefully 2 of them. And then I also have this piece of cherry. I'm going to avoid the live edge for this one, maybe get a corner piece or something from this little edge I have down there. Not much I can do with that. I don't really work with cherry a lot, so I'm going to use him up. And then the head scratcher, I am going to use one of the ones that was from this board, and I'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. Doodle the puzzle pieces on top of the material. This is when I edit my pieces so that they don't all look like this. So to start out, some of them were kind of like this. To avoid the live edge, I'm not clearly going to get the entire puzzle piece on there. So I did doodle a straight line and a straight line, so I get that super cool corner piece. And then for the mossy board guy, I went ahead, I'm going to delete this piece with the knot by putting a straight line for him. And then also this piece will lock together into this piece, so it has a nice straight edge that I could build onto into the puzzle. This guy I am leaving tried and true because I really like this board here. So I did offset it just so this line wasn't falling directly on that board. I did want it to kind of, have that look. So loving this. This guy I did have 2, so I added on one of the little bumps to this piece here. And this guy I am leaving alone. We have 2 of these actual guys, and then a straight edge, an extra piece. We got all kinds of different puzzle pieces. There are a couple of different options to get these pieces of wood to look like your actual puzzle piece. Now, we're going to cover how to do the exterior and then the interior because they can be different and there are different ways to go about both of them. So option 1, which is what we are going to be doing here, is we are going to remove as much material as we can using the bandsaw or just a jigsaw, and then coming back in, you stick this down and you use a flush cut router bit to remove the rest of the material. You're going to remove majority of this just so that it doesn't stress the router bit and it leaves you with a nice cleaner cut instead of you trying to remove all of this material as you go around. So that is one option for the exterior. If you guys own a router, it is very simple to do this. So we're going to go through that step. Definitely give it a try because it'll change your life. Otherwise, you can cut exactly on this line with the bandsaw. You can try to get it cut out with a jigsaw if you have either of those tools. and then sand it out smooth so that they lock together. It's a little bit more work, but again, if you're not comfortable, just work at your comfort level. That's what we're asking. The interiors are a little bit different. Because the outer edge gives us about 1/4 of an inch, the interior only gives us pretty close to 1/8 of an inch to work with. So if you guys are not comfortable with running a bearing on that little 1/4 of an inch, since your hands are a little close, you could also go through and just drill out the corners and then run a jigsaw straight onto those to get it cut out. Do a little bit of sanding, voila, voila. Otherwise, you could use this template here. So again, we're going to smack it down a little later and then cut out as much material as we can with a jigsaw beforehand and then smooth everything out with the router. It'll give you a little bit cleaner of a look. Otherwise, if you plan on making quite a few of these, you can make something like this template. This one is for business cards, and it actually secures to the top, and then it gives us more of an edge to work with for our router bit. So if you guys did want to make one of these, you would just measure these out, create one of these boards. I just used some plywood and then drilled it out with some Kreg screws to make this guy for business cards. You could also make one for that 4x6 picture frame. Questions? Pop them in the comments. So what I am going to do in the shop, I'm going to use my miter saw to cut off as much material as I can that's just going to be extra. Then I'm going to go through with my bandsaw and cut out the remaining amount that I can cut out without touching the line. And for my interiors, I am going to drill inside my hole a little bit, just so I don't have to really care how my line runs in the center, just as long as most of that material is removed. After everything is said and done, this is what the pieces look like when they are finished. You'll have it cut out pretty close to your lines on the outside, pretty close to your lines on the inside. They're starting to look like puzzle pieces. Sweet. Next step is to actually secure these down to the top and router it out so it is exactly this shape. However, as not to my surprise, there it goes. These boards are now dangerous. We did talk about the fact that the board that I had was split pretty much down the entire thing, which if the joint was weak at the top, it's going to be weak at the bottom. And the last thing I want to be doing is run this through the router and this explodes. So we are going to go ahead and just break both of these. And then I'm going to go ahead and super glue these back together. And while we wait, we're going to talk a little bit more about flush cut bits themselves. Flush cut bits are a type of router bit often used for laminate or template work where the bearing guides are the same diameter as the cutter. The bearings can be mounted either on the shank end, the cutter end, or both. All right, guys, and that's all there is to it. So thank you for watching. Just kidding. This was my trial run to see what I was doing. It did turn out very nice. This was almost perfect. And using this guy on the top, I did have this little boo-boo right there where the actual bearing was up too high. My cutter head, which gets hot, it actually started to melt through the plastic on that little spot there. So this guy is junk, but look at how nicely these two fit together. Pretty much a perfect pair. So to get to that step, all you have to do is actually just take your template. We are going to put some 3M tape in some spots on here. Then you can go ahead and peel off all those little guys. And then this flips over. I line up my inside just because I find it to be a little bit easier. And he's good to go. Now, you do know this edge and this edge I do not touch with the router. So as I'm coming around, I don't want to router out the interior of this or the side of that because it is going to be my straight edge. Once you guys get to the routing stage, things move along pretty quickly. The head scratcher was going to be some walnut strips inlaid into actually this puzzle piece. Uh-oh. So yeah, where the big crack went through the entire board, it had split out of there. I also tried to re-glue it and clamped it, and then I was standing here and it popped out of the clamp. So I was like, I'm done. But something you guys could do is actually just draw a kind of a curved line to match this one. You could write somebody's name in it if you did not put this section in there. That would be kind of cool to do. So that's throwaway. But this is what I have so far. So I do have 4 of them, and they look pretty cool. Again, I like having the angled in the top. So we are going to go ahead and get these guys sanded. Everything I do, wasting in my lonely. I used a 45-degree chafer bit and really kind of just dressed up the outside and inside of the picture frames. It really does draw the eye to where the actual frames meet now because that line is more defined. And then using these little cutouts that were from the centers, I played around with a few different stains just to see how I wanted everything to look once it was pulled together. Something that is obvious to the rest of the world, but not me apparently, is that I had made 4 picture frames, but I'd only owned 2 sets of the hardware, so I did have to run out, buy 2 more sets, and that's very easy to install. All you need to do is just on the back side of your project, go ahead and get your picture frame centered and put the direction of the little hook, whichever direction you want it to be. And then I piloted in a 16th inch drill bit, and then you just sink them in with a little screwdriver. Nicholas David Offerman, Ron Swanson, is an American actor who incorporates a lot of the hobbies that he does at home into the roles that he plays on the big screen. And one of those being he is a very, very, very good woodworking carpenter. He makes ukuleles, canoes, a bunch of other furniture at his shop in LA. And it is a rite of passage to hang a photograph of him up in your shop. I don't know why, but there's a lot of them. So this being the first picture frame I have made, this is going to go up as a sort of shrine to him, I guess. The other 3 are up for grabs, so any comment that you make in the comment section down below will count as an entry. 1 comment, 1 entry, and I will draw for that on my birthday, being March 13th of next year, so 2024. So definitely get a photograph of him up in your shop or enter to win one, because I don't need 4 of them.